Hey there, welcome to Ready Set Jam, a game design competition where we bring together a group of game creators to compete in a series of game-making challenges. Over 3 rounds, they'll create projects that will be played and rated by the community and our panel of judges. At the end of each round, the contestant with the lowest score will be removed from the competition, but there's only one dev left. Last time, the first round was the classic game round, where our contestants were given a classic game that they had to recreate or reimagine, but with a twist. If you didn't see it, there's a card up top to go check it out, but for a refresher, the game they had to make was Pong, and the twist that they had was power-ups. So, real fast, let's jump in, meet our contestants, and see what they made last time. Tantan is a game dev and video creator that enjoys exploring game creation without using an engine. They've been creating projects using the Rust framework recently, and are transitioning their voxel-based RPG from Unity to their very own custom engine. In the last round, Tantan made Cat Pong, where you play Pong against a group of cats. Your goal is to get the ball of yarn past the cats to lower their health bar to progress to the next level. When the ball, or the fish power-up, hits the cats, more power-ups will spawn, varying up the gameplay. Well, the judges loved the idea of playing Pong against a bunch of cats. The visual aesthetics, or lack thereof, just really didn't click, and unfortunately that put Tantan in 3rd place. Neenaw is a programmer and video creator with a degree in AI who picked up Unity and C# to begin making games within the last few years. They're currently working on a game called Dino Dungeon, an adorable puzzle platformer where multiple dinosaurs must work together to complete challenges to advance through levels. In the last round, Neenaw took a pretty straightforward approach of making Pong with power-ups. You play Pong with a variety of power-ups rising through the center of the play area that will change up the game by shifting walls, increasing the ball speed, changing the paddle size, and the ability to gain multi-ball. Our judges liked the game but felt it was a bit underwhelming. It all plays and functions well, but it didn't really do much to stand out in terms of the challenge, placing Pongers comfortably in 2nd place. WuzzyWizard is an artist and video creator currently studying game design. They make a wide variety of projects using different engines like Construct, Unity, and Unreal. In the last round, WuzzyWizard created the game Castle Wizard, flipping Pong on its side and changing up the formula quite a bit, but still making it feel very much like Pong. The player can move in all directions and catch the ball, with a goal of hitting the opponent's castle enough times to destroy it. Each player has a power-up that can be activated, changing up the feel of the game when used. The game is lacking in music, but that didn't take away too much from the fantastic visuals which pushed the game over the top, taking 1st place in the last round. So that's our standings moving into round 2, which we call the scope creep round. In game development, scope creep is the concept where after the project has begun, elements, ideas, concepts are added into the game which increase the scope and change it from its initial base. Sometimes you don't get to choose whether you want to add in something or not, and that's what we're going to simulate here. Our designers will have to take the game they made in the 1st round and add in one of these 3 scope creep challenges. As the winner of the 1st round, WuzzyWizard gets the prize to choose the scope creep that all our contestants will have to use. And for this round, they've chosen Skill Tree. So that's the challenge set. Our designers will have a total of 24 hours over the next 7 days to rework their round 1 games however they like and add in the concept of a skill tree. Let's see how they do.
Coming in last place round 1, I knew I had to step it up. Luckily no one was knocked out first round. A big criticism with the game was, it wasn't that skill based. It was pretty random how well you did. To make the game more skill based, I decided to let the player unlock what skills they want to use with the skill tree. This gave the player more choice how the game played, but not really that much more skill. To make it more fun and strategic, I removed the instant use of their pickup effect the power-ups had. Instead, the power-ups went into your inventory like Mario Karts, and you had the choice now to choose when to use the power-ups you picked up. The skill tree was heavily inspired by the game Forager. I think they have a beautiful skill tree with the visual feedback, with the audio. It makes just unlocking skills pretty fun, pretty neat, pretty nice. I did the whole redesign of the art. It's more thematic now. We got vases, we got catbox fortress. It looks much better now. I also got rid of the didgeridoo music and switched it up with something a bit more professional and more exciting. I redesigned a lot of the sound effects. I added new power-ups because we needed more now that we had the skill tree in. I spent a lot of time just polishing the game up, so let's see how it holds up.
Skill tree, huh? In my implementation, you earn points by hitting the power-ups and scoring. The game will tell you when you have enough points for a skill, and you can spend these points in the pause menu on the skill tree. My skill tree implementation is super simple. It's just a tree of buttons, and the buttons get activated in a tree formation. The 6 skills I settled on are sideways movement, so you can move the paddle sideways instead of up and down, rotating the paddle with the mouse, so you can then tilt the paddle and control shots, speed, so you can move the paddle faster, curveball, which curves the trajectory of the ball upwards or downwards depending on which way you hit it, magnetic paddle, where the ball is attracted to the paddle, and dashing. The AI also unlocks these skills, and you can see them on the scoreboard. One downside to this round is because the player uses the mouse to tilt the paddle, how would a second player do that? Computers can't have 2 mice, but they can have controllers, so I wanted controller support. But I also had to write an AI that tracks its experience points, then spends said experience points in a skill tree. Single player with a good AI is the priority over 2 player. So unfortunately I had to axe 2 player. I'm bummed out that I had to get rid of 2 player, but the name of the round is scope creep, and that's scope creep for you. I am happy that these skills actually add a lot to the chaos. You're playing the game, you're trying to score, you're collecting power-ups, and also it feels like you need these skills to be able to play against the AI, because the AI is going to get the skills, so you better too. And it really feels like the skills improve your chances of winning, and it is indeed absolutely pongers.
So the new thing we needed to add was a skill tree. This fitted really nicely into my original idea to make a roguelike type game. So I worked and added a little map selector after each match, so you could easily choose specific enemies to fight more easily. Then I made it so after you win a match you can also choose an upgrade from a skill tree that has 2 branches. One is focused more on fire, the other one is focused more on ice, which gave you some cool active abilities as well as passive abilities. I'm pretty satisfied with how the skill tree turned out, even though I might have needed some better tooltips and I would like to expand on the skill tree itself. But it's fine for a little game jam game, it's pretty cool. I got the skill tree implemented pretty fast, so I decided to also add a boss. This guy is pretty hard and has 2 abilities compared to all the other enemies who only has 1. His first ability is a fast moving empowered projectile, and he also has a teleport. After this I still had some time over, so I decided to improve the AI a bit. I tweaked some numbers, but most importantly I made the hard AI even harder by implementing a little bit of prediction code. And after that I was pretty satisfied with the game. For me it was really easy to implement the scope tree because it fitted really well with my original idea, so I just went with it. Even though the game can be quite hard, I think when you realize how the controls works it will be really fun to play. But overall I'm super satisfied with the game, and good luck to all the other contestants.
Okay, the build time is up and the games have been submitted. It's time to send them to our judges to rate and play. Each round is scored by 5 judges in 6 categories: art, audio, feel, originality, fun, and overall. The judges are myself as well as my community. During the judging period, anyone in my community or Twitch stream was able to go play the games and leave a rating. And along with myself and the community, we have 3 special guest judges who are Jonas Tyroller, a fantastic game dev here on YouTube with an upcoming game called Will You Snail, which is a fast-paced action platformer where an evil AI tries to kill you by predicting your movements. Mrs. Iziz's, another amazing game dev here on YouTube making a biopunk game in a classic PS1 style, and the creator of the 4 game devs jam off the same art kit series. Our final judge is Blackthorn Prod, who like the others is an incredible game dev here on YouTube that's released games like The Dreadful Whispers, Dashing Fire, and most recently Olobolo. A huge thank you to our judges for taking time out of their schedules to play, rate, and give their feedback. Tantan did a massive overhaul to their game's visuals, which just brings everything together so much nicer. To add in the scope creep of Skill Tree, now between levels you have the option to choose one of the power-ups from the previous version. You can store up to 2 and choose when to use them by pressing the spacebar. You begin with a limited number of choices, but as you unlock abilities, more become available. Every judge agrees this was a huge improvement on the first round. The arena is now themed much better, not having a giant white background which is hard on the eyes. There were still some suggestions as places to improve, as in more animations for the cats and maybe updating the UI a little bit. But overall, reskinning the whole thing, especially turning the paddle into a broom, was a great update that makes the visuals all stand out and pop. Another unanimous upgrade on the audio. The new music has great energy and the sound effects have stepped up as well. In the first round, Jonas was not a fan of the didgeridoo music, but is all in for the new audio. The change of the power-ups being activated as well as being chosen gives a lot more control to the player and really enhances the feel of the game. It does still feel pretty chaotic and random, but the ability to control a few elements helps a lot to make it feel a little less unfair. There are still some weird issues that can happen, like the ball bouncing strangely off the corner of the paddle causing you to lose health, but overall huge improvements. This update pushes the original idea of Pong with cats even further by tying everything together thematically. The implementation of the skill tree is great and works really well, taking the original version to the next level. The fun of the game is definitely enhanced. The judges were split, with some feeling the game is still a bit too random, and others enjoying the new control given to them with the skill tree and activated abilities. As you increase in levels, the difficulty and randomness does add up pretty quickly to the point where you do start to feel like you have to get lucky. But the adding of a skill tree turns this into a nice little roguelite where at the end of the run, you want to try one more to see how different power-up combos work together. Compared to round 1, this is a massive improvement. The skill tree scope creep was added in a fantastic way and gave the game new life. The randomness elements are still a bit of an issue as you increase in levels, but the overall experience was way better and it even takes Jonas's top game for this round. Neenaw chose to keep much of the game the same as before, with the power-ups still rising from the bottom of the arena, adding in a skill point system that increases as you collect the power-ups themselves. When you've reached enough points, you're able to pause the game and open up the skills menu, which gives you an interesting new set of abilities to pick from. You can unlock things like unrestricted movement, magnetism, faster speeds. You can even unlock the ability for the paddle to rotate to follow the mouse. There isn't much change to the art compared to the first round. Everything feels tightened up, and the lighting effects coming off the ball still looks great. The power-ups and skills feel a bit blocky, out of place, and a little unrefined in terms of the art styling, but as a whole, the art is clean and well done. More sound effects have been added, which was a common ask from the judges in the first round. But sadly, they were only added in the game and not so much in the skill tree menu, so getting your new ability just doesn't feel as impactful. All the music in the game still fits really well and makes for a good vibe while playing. But just like in the first round, all of the judges were pretty unanimous of not liking the MLG air horn when you score. The sound is toned down a bit more than in the previous version, but scoring happens too frequently and it just gets a bit obnoxious. Unfortunately, the feel of the game takes a bit of a hit with the new skills. The paddles get to be a bit stuttery when you have free movement and rotation unlocked, which just feels a bit rough and unrefined compared to the smooth movement you had beforehand. This effect also changes the way the ball bounces off the paddle. If you watch the AI, it rotates and flicks the ball, which is a really neat maneuver, but it gets difficult to do that when the paddle is always facing the mouse, and as you move up and down, it's hard to keep the mouse in place where you need it. For originality, the judges all agree they like the ideas for the new skills. They open up a lot of possibilities, but unfortunately they just don't feel as great in practice. Like the first round, the game is a fun and interesting version of Pong. But unlike before, the skills at times can hurt the enjoyment of the game by making it a bit harder to play and just not look as good as it stutters. All the ideas feel like they're there, they just don't quite come together right. Overall, like in round 1, Pongers is a solid game, and the new skills make it much more interesting. It's a great look at what you can do when you hold true to the Pong format, but change the elements that go around it. WuzzyWizard kept most of their gameplay the same, but built a better game flow. In the first round, you played one of 4 random opponents when you started the game, and then you had to restart to find another one. Now when you start up, there's a whole progression system where you're able to choose how you would like to progress through the different enemies. To add in the skill tree, after each victory you can choose a path of which skills you would like to take. Before, you just had the fireball power up, which made the ball move a little faster and did a little more damage. Now you get to choose between the fire and ice paths, which both have slightly different variations on how they upgrade. Castle Wizard was the standout in art for the first round, and that still holds true. The new power-up icons look great and tie in really nicely with the rest of the design that's already been created. Music was added, which all the judges agreed was missed in the first round. There was some thinking that it may not fit the mood the best, but overall it works and it's much better than the nothing that was there before. Other sound effects are still good, but there was a desire for some varieties in the sound effects that we hear more frequently. The feel took a bit of a hit here as some of the judges had some issues with the progression menus. It's not super obvious on the ability screen at first that you need to start from the bottom and work your way up. There was a suggestion to make the locked abilities more grayed out so that it's much clearer that you can't choose them yet. There are some still issues with catching the ball, like if you catch the ball just outside of your movement radius, you have to then move into it to be able to throw it again. All the judges still like the originality of the overall concept, but were divided in the addition of the skill tree. Jonas thought upgrades like speed and damage were a bit on the boring and safe side, while I think the roguelite style progression was a great addition to the game. The game is still fun like before, but Blackthorn Prod brought up a really good point that designers should keep in mind. They had an extremely hard time playing the game because they have an AZERTY keyboard, which means they don't have the standard layout of W, A, S, and D, Q, and E all in a convenient location. So their enjoyment and experience of the game was hurt significantly by this fact. Just something to keep in mind when you're designing your control schemes out there. Miz would have also liked to have been able to gain abilities a bit sooner. Having to get a full 3-win victory to be able to get a power-up makes it take a while if you want to see what they all do. Overall, it's still agreed that the game is super well done, but this time around it was hurt a little bit by the new mechanics causing some issues for the judges. And that's the feedback. Let's find out how the voting went. In first place, and moving on to the final head-to-head round, the winner is WuzzyWizard. Built on a strong foundation, the slight issues the judges had weren't enough to affect the scoring too badly. Although, I will say, the race was really close and there was only a couple of points separating first and second. We now have 2 contestants left and only one can move forward. Both Tantan and Neenaw did an incredible job of updating their games, and they made really fun play experiences they should both be very proud of. But unfortunately, one has to go home, and the person leaving us today is Neenaw. You made a great game, but unfortunately, this is the end. That means that Tantan is through to the next round where they're going to go head to head with WuzzyWizard to see who will be the winner of the first ever Ready Set Jam. A huge congratulations to WuzzyWizard and Tantan, and commiserations to Neenaw. Thank you so much for taking part, you've been an incredible competitor, and we're sad to see you go. We look forward to seeing you next time when WuzzyWizard and Tantan go head to head making a brand new game with a new theme and a new restriction. We're going to find out what they are next time on Ready Set Jam. Please remember to go check out our amazing game designers. Links to their channels as well as our judges are in the description below. Until then, keep designing great player experiences. I need to thank Gingerbeard4251 and Mr. Boxmonkey for all of their help. Without them, none of this would be happening. If you would like to help support the channel, keep these going and see more, giving the video a like, subscribing, and hitting the bell are all amazing ways to help out. Sharing this video with others you think would like it would also be immensely appreciated. If you would like to go a step further, I have a Patreon where you can directly support these videos, like these awesome people: Cinnabunny, Clone13, Cortland Massam, Curdle Games, Nightfall, It's Jeppy, Jed, Kevin Haugow, Killboy Gaming, Kormai, Matzi Makes, Nazar Salim, Salty Pretzel, Scott Hansen, Soapy Gnome, Straight Up Gruntled, Warren Stephen Rose, and Sangi Hai. I really can't thank you all enough for the support. If you would like to chat with me, the best place to do that is on my live streams at twitch.tv/Vimlark. We have a super chill community and I would love to talk with you. And we also have a Discord full of even more incredible people. If you've hung around to this point in the video, you're the best. Thank you so much. I'll talk with you next time. Have a good one. Later.